Kia ora everybody, I'm Evan Kiljoy and welcome back to the channel. This is the first video in a series of videos I'm going to make on the processes I go through to do sound design and sample pre-processing before I do a session to write a drum and bass track. Something that I've started doing the last 4 or 5 years. I never used to really do a lot of organization of samples or pre-processing of samples or creation of patches or anything like that. Before that, back in my days in Concord Dawn, Maddie and I would just start from scratch with raw samples and do all of the sound design along with the arrangement of and creation of our music. But I've found that with the limited amount of time that I have these days to write music, it is much more efficient for me to, when I've got an hour there and an hour here, to work on maybe some sound design, create some patches in a sampler, create some patches in a synthesizer, and kind of store them away so that when I do have a little bit more time to write music, I don't have to do that sound design stuff. And I do actually find it helps with the creative process of just writing music because whilst sound design is lots of fun, it can be a big rabbit hole to fall down when you're actually writing music. You can spend too much time on a snare drum, which is the classic trope with writing music. And you can spend too much time just trying to dial in sounds, where if you spend the time to just create patches beforehand and maybe check them against reference or other things like that, you have the confidence that it's a good enough sound to write with anyway. And then you can just get into the creation of a track without having to worry about stuff. And it just means that the creative process of actually writing and arranging a track is just so much faster. So anyway, I'm going to start this series with how I like to process breakbeats, raw breakbeats, before I get them ready to slice up and put into a sampler and use in a tune session. So I am going to open up some audio in this Cubase session, and obviously I don't go through the same process in terms of using the same tools for every break, because every drum break is different and it requires different stuff. So I'll go through the kind of how I think about things as they kind of come up. You take every piece of audio and piece of media on its merit and as it comes, and you kind of analyze what it needs. But there's a few things that I do every time. So anyway, so I will open some audio. All right, I'm already in breakbeat pack 1 because I've been doing some breakbeats. And just going to find a good breakbeat. Teach the president. Yes. Okay, I'm going to do this one. I don't even know what this one's called. So if you know, in the comments, let me know what break this is. So here we are, 2_breakbeat_ASO. So this sounds like this. Give it a loop. It doesn't loop completely, but that doesn't matter. We're going to slice it up. Okay, so it's kind of got quite a crisp snare. And a kind of chunky bass drum that's kind of punchy, but it's also got a lot of lows in it. And quite a kind of chicky kind of hi-hat, which is, yeah, I like this. All right, so it's quite open and dynamic. So I think the first thing I'll probably want to do, and I use this thing all the time for drums, is the Waves DBX 160VU modeled plugin. It adds a bit of kind of, it's really grabby on drums, so it's great on snares and kicks because it while it's compressing, it kind of adds a certain punch because of the way that the VCA style compressor kind of clamps down and it reacts to the drum. So it actually gives an envelope to both the kick and the snare to kind of grab them down. But if you listen, it's actually making the kick and the snare a little bit more consistent together in terms of the energy and their sound. So with it off, the kick and the snare are kind of filling different spaces, which is great for some music. With drum and bass with breakbeats, the kick and the snare kind of, they almost work like punctuating pairs. And I like it when the kick occupies a little bit more space where the snare would, and the snare occupies a little bit more space where the kick would. So beefier snares and gruntier kicks. So kicks with more lower mid-range kind of punch and attack, and snares with, you know, more kind of lower punch. So if you listen, this is open. It's really brought that snare out as well. The snare is really kind of cracking now. Now you can see I'm only compressing at 1.5 to 1 ratio. So for those of you that don't know compression, there's a threshold that you set, and when the volume or the level of the audio goes above that, it's basically like someone turning it down. So it's only turning it down like 1.5 times for every one it goes up. So it's not very harsh in terms of its compression, but it's adding enough of a punch. It's taking away some overall volume, but that's fine. Yeah, I like that. Right, the next thing I'll do, and this is something I do on a lot of breaks, is I'm going to open my Ozone 10 Match EQ. Now, this thing is magic. What you can do is you can capture the sonic kind of spectrum or curve, average kind of sonic curve of another piece of audio, like another breakbeat or some processed drums that you've got, and then you can capture your source that you're trying to work with, and it will basically figure out what EQ needs to be applied to your source to make it have more of a curve like the original. So I have a preset saved here which I call Drum Butchery, which is basically, it's been captured off a couple of different breaks from tunes that I like, and I'm going to apply it to this. So I'll load that preset. You can see this yellow curve here is that, and I'm not going to worry about stuff above 16K. So you've got these filters here, but I'm just going to leave that at 16K because I don't care about anything above there. It looks like this must have come from an MP3 to start off with, or at least some sort of data compressed music. Anyway, I'm going to hit capture, and we're now capturing this breakbeat that we're listening to, and you can see the curve kind of jumping around. Give it a little bit more, wait until it settles down. Yeah, that looks good. So now, ooh, so you see here, it is pulling out a bunch of like 40 hertz, 41 hertz, quite wide. It's adding a bit of 220, 210, and then from about 500 up, it's adding all of this up to here. What you can do with the smoothing is you can actually smooth it out so that it's more like that. But I like what it's doing. Maybe 50% smoothing. 60% smoothing. And so we're only using 25% depth in terms of the EQ amount it's applying. I could put this on 100, it's just going to sound ridiculous. Yeah, that's no good. 25% is giving us that bite. Now I might move this before the compressor. Because if we're adding more of that top end, I'd actually like the compressor to react to it. You can hear if I swap them back again, you can hear how, because we're applying the EQ now after the compression, it's bringing the snare drum, which has got most of that kind of material in it, forward. But if I put it before the compressor now, you can hear how the compressor now is reacting to the extra top end and it's grabbing it down. So if we switch all the processing off, back on. See, that's good. Yeah, I do actually like it further down here. We'll leave it at 40%. I still think the snare drum is a bit anemic. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use another new favorite plugin of mine called Subquake. To add some low end to this. Now, this is a generator plugin. This isn't a subharmonic synthesizer like you get with most plugins. This is literally a generator. So you've got a noise channel here, you've got tone channels here, and you can set them to different frequencies. With the noise, you can filter the noise how you want it to be filtered, and over the master output, you've got a filter as well, high and low pass. You've got this envelope down here. So first of all, I need to make sure I'm grabbing just the snare drum. So there's a gate up here, so I can just try and catch just the snares. Actually, I'm going to put this before the compressor. Of course, that'll help. The great thing about this is it's got a listen function. You can listen to what the gate's actually doing. So what I might do is I might filter out there we go. Not catching the kick drum now. I'll roll this back. I'll bring the gate back until it just starts reacting to the kicks again. Wow, that filter's really working. There we go. Okay, so maybe 9.1. Let's see. 8.5. 8. But you know what? I'm going to leave that there because that's only a little bit sneaking through the gate. And I actually want to keep just, a smidge of that there. So we're right on the edge of it. Now, this is the trigger threshold. And I can set this because I'm going to use a special mode in this plugin. At the moment, it's using what they call an envelope follower. So while there's an envelope down here, there's a modifier to the envelope follower. So it listens to the audio coming in and builds kind of an envelope for the output based on that. And this extra envelope here is kind of adding to those values. But if I switch this to envelope mode or one-shot envelope mode, it's only going to use this. It's going to move out of envelope triggering mode. I'm just going to shut this up. Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. So you can hear now I've got this blip, right? And right now it's in stereo. So the noise channel, which I'm using, has got two modes. It's got stereo mode, multi-channel noise signal, and mono, straight down the middle. And that's what I want for this. I just want to add some punch and bang to that snare drum. All right. And if I change the envelope here, you can hear that's what it's doing. I just want to have a nice short blip. The other thing is you can hear how the tone of the noise is kind of changing each time because the sample of noise is not being re-triggered. It's the same. It's basically just on a loop. And the loop is linked to your timeline. So if you can have this be fully deterministic, if you want it to be like this, you can have it so that the noise prints exactly the same. Everywhere you can drop in, you can punch stuff in over it, and it's going to be the same every time. But I am going to switch this into re-trigger mode. What do they call it here? Re-triggering on. Yeah. You can hear now. Basically giving us exactly the same kind of noise profile every time. So now I'm just going to turn this blip straight up so you can hear it. Oh, you see? So it's adding this like poof to the snare drum now. But obviously it's got some sub elements in it that are too low. We don't want that. So I can filter the noise channel itself. Probably up to about 100 hertz. That's getting there. But I'm going to double up on that filtration. And I am going to... Oh yeah. So essentially we've got a 72 dB per octave high pass filter over that. But listen to this. Without. With. Hear that bang, that real big bangy bang? Might even make this shorter. So yeah, if you listen to the snare without this now, kind of sounds anemic. Almost sounds like you're only listening through the overheads. Now you've got a real front on that snare. What I might do is I might even roll that back just a touch. Now the other cool thing with this plugin is it's got a drive on it, which can work sometimes. So I'm just going to check this with and without the drive on. You know what? I like it with the drive on. It's full on. I'll try halfway. Yeah. I'm just going to roll it back just a little bit more. There's also a limiter that you can use here. Nah, limiter's not doing anything I want. Oh, just a word as well. Like if you've got fast elements, there's a re-trigger minimum time on the trigger here up the top. So if I turn this all the way up, you won't get every snare. Where's that? Yeah, there we go. So you can hear there it's only you can even see like with this yellow kind of indicator here, you can see there's only triggering on every second snare. So if you've got faster elements, you can kind of use just that. So I'll bring this back to here. Okay, all processing off. You know what? I think there's something in the kick that I'd like to bring back. So I know that we've taken out that big scoop at kind of, 40, 41 hertz or so. I'm going to use another subquake. This thing's just great. This time we're just going to try and bring that kick drum out. Again, I'm going to put it before the compressor. Let's use a tone for this one. And you can pitch this. In fact, I'm going to switch this out of, and it's in musical mode right now, so you can see what actual pitch you're at. Switch this into hertz mode. Now it was 41 that we were losing before, but I want to have a punchier kick. Let's say around 60. Of course, you can type into this as well. 60 hertz. All right, again, let's just try and grab this kick drum. All right, so we're grabbing too much of the snare. Might soften up on this. There we go. Let's see if I can bring that. All right, there we go. Grabbing a little bit of snare. I'll move this back up a dB. All right. I'm going to put this on envelope mode. And we'll trigger. We're grabbing a snare, so I'm going to move this back up a little. So yeah, you can hear there that, yeah, that's nice. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend this I'm going to bend this tone as you would do on a, if you were using an 808 drum machine or creating a synthesized kick drum sound. It's about that boom, that descent, that drop from a higher pitch to a lower pitch. You do it at an exponential kind of drop. That's what gives you a really kind of drummy sound. Okay, so that's, oh, yeah. And again, I'm going to use this in phase accurate mode or retrigger mode. So it will re-trigger the tone oscillators as well. All right, let's see what this sounds like with the dry signal. So I'm playing with the drive at the moment, just trying to see if I can't get actually I like it without the drive. Switch the tone off. So you can hear there. Oh yeah, that's nice. All right. So that's the break beforehand. Oh yeah. I like that. The last thing I'm going to do before I bounce this out, so I'm going to grab the T-Rex classic clipper, give it like a knee of about 1.5. Actually, I like it deep. So, yeah, I'm giving this kind of like a roll into full clipping of 12 dB at the moment. And you can see here, it's holding the audio back to about a dB above full scale 0. So yeah, I like this. Let's see if I can drive it in a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to switch off all the processing now. Yeah. I'm going to pull back. The compression now is grabbing so much on what I've added with the EQ and the two subquakes. I'm just going to bring it back a little bit more because it's at 1.5 to 1. It's grabbing just a little bit too much. think 1.3 to 1 sounds about right. Yeah, I like that a lot. One more check. One thing you've got to make sure of as well, if you choose a break and you pick it for a particular sound, sometimes when you get into processing, you can be overzealous and you can process it so much that you lose the flavor of what's originally there. And what I can hear here that it's lost a little bit of is that kind of barkiness of the kick drum. But still got enough of it there for it to have that kind of character and quality. Yep, this is ready to print out. So I'm going to print this out and bring it back into a sampler, and I'll see you soon. So here I am. I am now in my favorite sampler, which is the TAL audio sampler. It sounds like an old Akai or an Emu. It is just so good. And what I'm going to do is I am going to slice up the sample. I'm going to put this at C1, which is the bass key for all slicing, as you might know, at root C1. So we have got, that's our processed sample. Right, so now put this into slice mode, and I will just roughly slice stuff here. Now, you can go back and edit these slices later. So this is just to get the kind of regions separated so that they're ready to fix. You can kind of tell from like knowing the rhythm of the breakbeat or the loop what's going to happen. So now I've put this, sliced this all up, and you can see it's put all the slices down onto different tracks, but you can hear the starts and ends aren't exact. So I'll take this out of slice mode. I'm back to here, and I'll zoom in on the sample start, out a little bit, and I will bring the start of the sample up to here, go to the sample end. Same here, bring the sample end to there, then just click on here, this region here, takes me to the next sample. Sample start. This will also show me the red line will show me where the previous sample has been cut. We can kind of bring it to the same area. Doesn't have to be exact. It's not rocket science. Now that's about right. So click on here, sample start. I am going to bring this just a bit tighter because this is the snare drum, and you always want the snare drum to be just a smidge tight. Sample end. Click sample start. So yeah, I'll do this all through the magic of editing, and I'll be finished in a second. That sounds cool. Now we can do this. So this will work as your drums for the whole track. So a lot of the time you'll take a breakbeat and you'll have to reinforce it with other kicks and snares. This will probably just work as the whole thing, because I've used those subquakes to kind of bring out the punch in the bottom of the snare and a little bit more kind of like punch again in the kick drum. So yeah, so what we'll do is we'll come back here, we'll listen to the unprocessed audio. That's the breakbeat, and then so yeah, that's the process that I go through to create at least this breakbeat. For me, it's all about adding the right amount of bite in the kind of mid-range, which this break already had, making sure it's got the right kind of punch for the snare and the kick, which is what I use the subquakes for. In fact, what I'll do is I'll just I'll walk through the plugins I used. So I used Ozone Match EQ, which I used to kind of fix or at least accentuate the noise profile to be more along the lines of like the sound of break that I like, having the kind of qualities that I like in the break. Obviously, then we had the two subquakes, this one doing the snare drum with the filtered out kick drum in the gate and the filtered out noise, filtered out output, just to try and add that kind of like crack and that kind of 200 area. And then the subquake for the kick drum, which was adding this kind of tone that was kind of punching, kind of like adding a 909 or an 808 style kind of kick drum to the kick that was there. Then of course I had the Waves 160 VU DBX 160 VU modeling plugin just to kind of grab some compression bite to it, and then right at the end a saturator or a clipper, actually more, to pull it all together, make sure it's not peaking, and it actually it just helps glue everything together at the end of it. Like old breaks, they need to sound a little bit crusty, so don't feel bad about running them through some kind of distortion or saturation or clipping or whatever. So yeah, and we had the raw break sounded like this. It's a great sounding break. Oh, sorry, this is the raw sounding break, which is a great sounding break. And then we did this to it. Yeah, it's boom bap as. It's like really hip-hoppy. It's like what a hip-hop producer might have done to a breakbeat back in the day, adding those kind of thumps in the bottom with maybe like an 808, EQing it, driving it through like a small console and like having it clip a little bit, and then maybe like a simple compressor. And then of course we've got the sound of the sampler now, which is giving us in fact, I'll just put it back at the same pitch. And of course, you can get less busy on that programming, so it's a little bit more steppy, which is what I would do in a track. I wouldn't have it programmed exactly the same as it was played. But yeah, that's how I process a drum break. So yeah, and that's how I process a drum break. So yeah, I hope this was enjoyable for you to watch. And yeah, I'll start doing some other ones. I might do some on how I make basses in terms of like sub sounds, but also kind of like bass lead sounds like Reese's and things. Yeah, come along for the ride. Anyway, like and subscribe the channel because that's what you say on YouTube. And yeah, catch you guys up soon. Bye.